What's good, everyone? It's Anderson.
Christian here.
And we got the Briones Brothers back in the house.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Chilling.
Hi. Okay, so tonight's episode is a little different. I mean, last time we had you guys on, we were going more for like the creative flow and kind of like your origin story. But tonight, let me tell you, we are going to delve into some uncanny stuff. So, for all you listeners out there, turn on, tune in, drop out, get ready to ride this wave of weird because we are about to enter 111. What's up, guys?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us again.
No, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you guys.
Always.
So tonight, we are going to talk about the uncanny. Christian, you want to kind of preface them on some of the different topics we have?
So, we have a few different topics on the table. We want to know about any kind of like spooky experiences you guys may have had, whether that be just in your like personal life or even on set. I've heard of some like weird stories of people on set. We also want to kind of dive into, intuition, following your gut feeling, letting your higher self guide you in certain directions, sometimes. Or
even God, like
Noise.
God's played a big pivotal part in everybody's life. So if you had any of that.
You said that very, like you cared about us. And
I did.
I think you heard us talk about church, right? Church. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Church. Yeah.
You
You can talk about God. What has God done for you? All kinds. Yeah, for sure. Keyshawn, you have some, no? You have one.
I mean, okay, I'll tell you what. Now I just remembered one.
Go for it.
This story that happened to me. And
Sorry. Bring that closer.
all right, so I remember one that happened to me, right? So I remember one that happened to me was, I was probably like 21, 22, and I was out with some friends. And then I stayed out late. It was probably like 3, 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And when I was driving home, dude, I was really sleepy. I shouldn't have driven home. And I'm being for real. I was like really sleepy. And on my way home, I was like, dude, I shouldn't have been driving when I'm this sleepy. Mm-hmm. But on my way home, there's 3 times where I almost fell asleep. But every time something freaked me out. So I'll tell you what. This is a real story, and I totally forgot about this until now. That's the name. But I was driving home, and one time when I was driving home and I felt like I was asleep, I saw my rear mirror. There was a person in the back. It seemed like there was a person in the back, and I just woke up, and there's nobody there. I was like, oh, who's that? Well, I'm awake now, so it's cool. And then
thanks, Ghost.
I forgot what the second one was, but the last one was like when I was getting close to my house, and I was like falling asleep again, and then I saw someone cross the road, and I go, like that, there's nobody there. Mm. And then when I got home, I was just like, yo, that was freaky. Like, it felt like I saw like people there when they weren't there.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man. Be playing with your mind, but the whole thing is that experience itself. I'm happy it happened
For sure.
because I didn't crash into anybody. I didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's one thing that I was like. Since then, I haven't been like. I don't drive like that. I'll take my time to take a nap or something on the side of the road. It's cool, but I was like, dude, I want to do that because these dark ghosts that came out, whatever, man, start swinging at them, dude. No.
Have you ever?
No, seriously, it was one of those ones.
It sounds like it was scary, but also like helpful.
Yeah.
Orlando, did you ever experience anything kind of?
I personally never experienced anything. I mean, I just have a thing where like most places that I go into, for some reason, those paranormal things don't mess with me. It's been like that for a long time. But I've been in places where people swear, like at U of H, there's a ghost there for a long time. Anyone that stays there past 2 or 3, you'll hear random shaking of the doors and that kind of stuff. And I think it was one of the students that was there that was actually in a wheelchair. for years, and he passed away, and they thought that it was him because after he passed away is when it started. But yeah, I would be there and till 5 a.m. till whatever. I wouldn't hear anything, but other students would stay there, and they'd say that.
You would hear footsteps, and
footsteps and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hear anything. People would hear like, scratching or all kinds of stuff. But there's, I never really witnessed it or felt it or any of that stuff. But I have been to remote areas of like in Mexico, in Campeche, Mexico, where with one of the pastors that I knew that they know a lot about the spiritual warfare and stuff like that, and spiritual warfare being just they believe there's a belief that there are different spirits, and these spirits have permissions, and there's a hierarchy to them, and that kind of stuff. And when we traveled over there, there's like a big thing that a lot of people like within the church. We're Southern Baptist, so spirituality isn't a big part of the Southern Baptists. We're very like cold in a sense. We don't focus too much on the spiritual side. It's more on like the biblical and reading and studying and that kind of stuff. But when you meet people who have been in it and they're have been doing these things for years, and they have these things that they call spiritual warfare. We're in Mexico. I preface all that to say we're in Mexico, and we're going around, and there's a talk about this shaman, this shapeshifter that was around, and we got to go meet his son. But everyone talked about this guy. This guy would turn into a goat and ram you, and he got in trouble because he would shape shift himself into money, pay for goods, leave, and the money would turn to like paper or other items and stuff. This is the kind of stuff that was happening down there. This is like, straight up brujeria, like just things that are of the other world. And
what does that mean?
Brujeria.
Brujeria?
Oh, brujeria.
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft. Yeah, witchcraft and stuff.
But I just, dude, it's just like, it sounds like a sitcom. Like, they go, who made this money? Shaman.
Yeah. That's exactly how it was. And talking to the son, we'd ask him like questions like, what would your dad do? And he's like, I mean, people knew him. They would call him they'd call him the goat, because he would turn to a goat and and hit people, and they knew who it was. They would go to his house, and he'd be there just laughing, and I didn't see any of this, but they swore it. And there's a little girl. I remember this little tiny girl that while we were there, we prayed over her, and we're hoping that she can be released by whatever it was. But she swore that some demon showed up to her and told her that she will never be able to speak, so she didn't talk. There's nothing medically that said that she couldn't talk. She just refused to talk because she thought the demon would come and get her. Crazy stuff like that. So I mean, we had, I've heard of a lot of stuff. I've been around different areas. I've been the other time that this happened, I do get premonitions or intuitions of places that I shouldn't be.
Oh, wow.
And those are things that happen they happen quite often. And one of them was when I was doing a documentary in the border town. And I remember that we're in an area that I was like, man, something doesn't feel right. Like there is something going on here.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't know what it is, but I gotta get the hell out of here. Like I just felt that that there's something weird. The people that are with us, they went into these people's house to go and go use the restroom and stuff. And they came out and their eyes were like, oh my God. They had like a massive Santa Muerte shrine and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah.
So Santa Muerte it's well, I don't say a fake saint. It's a saint made up by that's worshipped by a lot of cartel members as a protect me from death, as a deal death, or it's not exactly what it is, but they just have a thing. It was like Santa Muerte.
It's dark. It sounds like it's dark. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's holy death. Yeah. Like what they call the holy death. You know about the Santa Muerte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and so people honor that it's like a god of brutality and that kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy stuff. So I mean, I've heard of a lot of different things. I've seen a lot of I've felt those kinds of things, but yeah, outside of that, I'm sure I have a ton more that I can remember. But.
Do you know how it looks like, the Santa Muerte? It looks like just like a Virgin Mary, but with skull face. Oh. So now, if you're ever driving around Houston, you see a truck and they have that in the back, and you're like, nah, you know what it is?
Don't honk at him.
Yeah, don't honk at the guy.
Don't honk at them.
Wow. No, that's crazy that you say that, especially saying spiritual warfare, because I got on a flight once going home to visit my family for Christmas.
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I was sitting next to the window, and this was probably like 2018. And it was on the last leg of the flight. I think we're flying out of, maybe it was like, I think it was Phoenix, right? And I had a 2-hour flight back to Fresno. And this lady sits in the middle between myself and another gentleman. And she was like extremely proper. She was so proper, I thought she was British, right? She just like the way she spoke, the way she held herself, like her movements, like her neck movements were just like, oh, yes, like very stiff and rigid. And I think I said something like, or she said like, I always greet somebody that sits next to me. It's just something I always do. And then sometimes we carry conversations, right? And we had this conversation where I basically asked her like, are you going back to California to visit family, or and she's like, yeah, I'm going to see my daughter and my grandkids. I was like, oh, awesome. You're going to spend Christmas with them, obviously. She's like, yeah. And she throws out of pocket like things about gifts. She was like, yeah, like, there's a lot of dark games out there for kids. And I was like, okay, like what? I don't know what you mean by that, And she's like, well, like kids are playing with like dark things. And I was like the Ouija board? Is that what you mean? She's like, that's one of them. But there's a lot of things that are created now to, summon like spirits and bad things into like kids' lives. And I was like, yo, that's kind of creepy.
Damn, that's deep. Yeah.
I was like, this is going to be a long flight.
Yeah, how long is this flight? Yeah.
And we hadn't taken off yet.
Oh, crap, yeah.
And I see the guy next to her. At first he was like just like casually reading, and he was just like there like smiling, and once she said that, he put his headphones on. He acted like he was going to sleep.
It's like, I'm the dude. The girl at Rex Anderson, he goes, oh, that's so interesting.
But she goes deep. She goes, I think she said something to the extent of like, I practice exorcisms, or like she's an aide to like a priest that does like exorcisms. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like, how did you get into that line of work? And she's like, it's just the calling I had. And she was telling me, she said the same thing, kind of what you're saying. She said, in Mexico, there's like demons walking everywhere. She's like, children aren't children out there. They're basically possessed by demons. She goes on to tell me about a shapeshifter.
Yeah, shapeshifter.
And she said like she watched this late, because I go, what's the craziest thing? Because after that I was intrigued. I was like, all right,
she should be on the show.
Yeah, I was like,
if you're listening.
No, I'm good. That flight was too long.
She'll be between y'all. She's gonna be like,
that flight was too long. I'm
one
good.
right here. There's one of them Mexicans I was talking about. Right?
Dirty demons.
She goes on to tell me like, oh, the most evilest thing I'd ever seen was I watched a lady turn into a serpent, and I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I watched her shed her skin and transform into a snake, like a huge like serpent looking thing. And I was just like, I didn't know if I was like hearing right, but. Yeah. It was so bizarre. It was such a bizarre flight. And she told me all of these things. Like, I went to study under some priest somewhere in like, I think like South America somewhere. And her husband was like, I think you're going crazy. Like, and she goes, yeah, he thought I was going crazy until like he met the priest. And he was like, okay, you can stay here. I'll let you stay here and study under this person. Yeah. And she came back and she started working with some of the churches out here in Houston. And she said, Houston, it's like a constant battle, because you got a lot of light and a lot of dark. And then she starts talking about like the Satanic Church up in Spring, and And I'm just like, I didn't know that existed, you know. And lo and behold, there's like a huge like temple.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's kind of bizarre, like that exists, you know. And I guess, you know, the saying is like, you know, light versus darkness, you know, and you see it and it's prevalent and it's there, you know.
Did you see that TikTok of like they did like one of those, you know how like they do those geo searches where like if you like zoom out.
Oh, the caches, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, GeoSearch. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then like if you like zoom in enough, you can see like an overhead. Well, there's like a weird like cross-shaped shape of like trees, I think near like North Texas. Have you seen that TikTok at all? No?
No.
It's wild. If I find it, I'll like link it somewhere, but
Yeah.
that's kind of weird because like people were like, what is this?
Yeah, who did this?
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, that's kind of like the extent to hearing that word,
Yeah.
because I keep hearing it. And I'm like, spiritual warfare. Yeah, that's happening. You know, like that's a thing. How do you guys feel about have you guys heard of something called the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Where things, everybody thought it was one thing, but it turns out to be another.
How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing where they talk about the hydrogen collider, right? Like where that when they turned that on, wherever it was at, that
CERN, yeah.
CERN, yeah, that it pushes into an alternate dimension, and in that dimension, Hillary won, and you know, and we jumped into the I can't say that word because it's also banned. You know, we'll get in trouble, demonetized for this one. But yeah, instead the other dude won, and then and then like all, you know, Berenstein turned to Berenstein and all the other crazy stuff. But yeah, I've heard of it. It's actually pretty fun to go through and do like the one versus the other and like be wrong like 50% of the time. It's awesome.
It's weird how that happens because I've had some conversations with like my best friend, and like we went through the whole like Chick-fil-A thing, how like she remembers it specifically with a K, and then, you know, I don't remember a K being in Chick-fil-A. And like the Britney Spears ones are like really interesting. Like, have y'all heard?
What's the Britney Spears ones?
There's like a few of them. Like the latest one that I heard was like that video that she did. Oops, I Did It Again, in that red suit. How do you remember her in that music video? Like any accessories she was wearing?
They were red. She had a hairband.
She had a headband, yeah.
All red. Like a red leather, not leather, like shiny latex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And then she was in a schoolgirl outfit, right?
Yeah, that's a different one. Yeah,
that's a different one. Okay.
But in that red, like leather outfit, people remember her with the headset. And if you like look at like reenactments that, you know, actors did, skits, all over the place, they're always wearing a headset. But if you go back and Google it or like YouTube it, she's not wearing a headset. And people were like, "But I remember her with a headset."
Well, I mean, it all depends too, because a lot of the stuff was re-uploaded in 2010-ish. Like when YouTube, like, so a lot of the videos that you might have saw on TV were re-uploaded in different formats and different stuff. I don't know. I mean, there's always things that you can figure out from some of these things that have happened, but I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember watching Britney Spears.
like Risky Business. I always thought it was iconic because Tom Cruise comes out with like his button-up shirt, no pants on, socks, and then his glasses, his sunglasses. He never had sunglasses.
On that one?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Like he slides out and he turns around and he's doing the lip syncing thing. And I always remembered him with shades on. But no, people are saying he never had shades
People
on.
probably mixed that one up with Ferris Bueller. Like they probably like in their mind they connected several things together.
You know what? In Never Been Kissed, this is my nerd coming out. In Never Been Kissed, one of the I think it was David Arquette, dressed up as Tom Cruise from Risky Business, and he's wearing sunglasses for sure. So that's what's funny is like you see these scenes from these movies, and then people like try to reenact them, you know, wherever, but like something's slightly off.
Yeah, I mean, things can change over time. Like it's just how they're presented, right? By popular format. I mean, Vikings never really had the two-horn thing. That was from an old German opera, I believe, that represented Vikings a long time ago, and since then it's been the thing.
Yeah.
Ninjas didn't really look like ninjas, you know? They looked like farmers. They looked as stealth as possible. Am I saying it right? I don't know. I'm thinking of that as from what I remember.
Yeah.
I might not be right. But the idea is what you remember, and then somebody tells a story, and then they're like, oh, yeah. It's like playing telephone.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
stuff is crazy though when you do see like when you think of Shazam or Kazam or whatever it's called, and you thought Sinbad was a pirate, and you realize he wasn't a pirate.
No, it was like a wizard, right? He was a wizard.
Like a genie?
Do you
a
remember?
genie.
He was like a genie.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that movie, Sinbad was a genie?
Yeah.
That never happened.
Never happened. Yeah.
What?
I know. It was Shaq, right?
It
Wasn't
was Shaq,
Kazam.
and Kazam. Yeah.
But there's supposedly people remember a movie with Sinbad where he was a genie, but there's never a movie where he was a genie.
So why do you think it's like, do you think does that make sense that we're all connected then? If there's a group, like there's a collective group of people that remember it that way. Like if it's like one or two people, you think, maybe you just remembered it wrong. But when it's like a group, like hundreds, maybe thousands, millions of people that remember it one way, what do you think that is?
I just think it's up to human error.
Yeah.
And now we have the ability to record and digitize things and all that, and so those things are, if you had the tangible products, VHS, like old ones, and you pop that in, you see it there, you're like, whoa, what happened? I mean, those are things that that's cool about having the tangible goods, because you can always go back and revert to them. But honestly, I chalk it up to human error, because there's people who are in the heat of the moment, or like like they're getting robbed, and they swear the dude had a freaking blue jacket and they didn't, but they swore that for them it felt like an eternity. And things happen with different minds. And if you're not a Bad Bunny fan, right, go to the concert with the Bad Bunny fans, stand next to them, hear the music, see the dances. By the time you're done, you're probably going to be a Bad Bunny fan. The group thing is real.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of see it that way. There's some stuff that is coincidence, but I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
it's kind of is what it is. but I've always been kind of a skeptic.
Even in law, I think eyewitness accounts are not as reliable as they used to be, because they realize that people can just be mistaken over things.
Yeah.
Are we? But with Mandela effect, are we mistaken? Or
I don't know. I mean, but I do think there is this overgrowing connection between everyone, and there is like this underlying, set of morals and things that people have. So there's like there's like some kind of connection between all of us. What you call it, I don't know. Some people just call it conscious or soul or whatever. But yeah, I do think that there is some kind of connection between everyone. I think most people can judge right from wrong, and that's based on like certain set of, I think, morals that have been instilled in everyone. And I don't think that was just from the golden rule that we were taught as kids, But who knows? I mean, I don't know.
The Berenstain Bears, I think that's the first one that I ever caught on to, and I was like, wait, this is really weird, because
What's happening?
Yeah, I was like, I had like books, I had the action figures.
What
I
is
had
that one?
The Berenstain Bears.
What's the...
It's it wasn't Bernstein, it was Bernstein or something like that.
It was. I remember it being Steen, like Stein, but some people remember it as Stain, like AIN, like the end of it. Yeah.
Oh, what it is? It's an anti-Semitic movie, dude. They're trying to make them not Jewish. Horrible.
That's what you think it is.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you guys feel about all of the UFO sightings and the UAP stuff being reported in the news now? What do you think that is? Do you think it's government stuff, or do you think it's like they don't know how to explain it, so now they're trying to reveal it?
Man, I don't know. UFOs, they changed it, right? What does UAP mean now?
Unidentified aerial. I forget what the P stands for.
Projectiles or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always unidentified. It could be many things. The idea that they're aliens, us from the future, alternate time, whatever. But man, like, you can be in an airplane and you can see things. You can see things that aren't there. Maybe you're there for like 10 hours. All of a sudden you see something fly by. You're like, did I really see what I saw?
Right.
But again, your mind can trick you on things. Did I really see those things in the car when I was driving home?
Yeah. Have you ever been by an airport and you see like an airplane just like standing like just still?
Still, I haven't, but I've seen videos of it.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I've seen that at Hobby when I was just driving through. I was like, that plane should really keep moving. They can't hover like that.
It just looked like it was stuck.
It just looked like it was stuck. I was just
That's
like,
crazy.
that's not right.
Yeah.
What would have been crazier is if they had their lights blinking like click, click,
Bro, yeah.
click both of them. Like, he's like, he goes, dude, I'm just waiting. I'm not parked here, man.
Yeah, he was just an emergency light. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like, I'll be down in a minute.
That's funny because the video that I saw with that, they were like, "We're in a simulation. We're in a simulation. Look!" And then they showed like a plane that looks like it's just stuck.
He's just stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah, or like birds that just like, and it's so weird. Like I've seen that as well, where somebody saw a bird that was just like the wings were just open, and they went and like they brought a stick up and they like tried to like
Tap
prod
it,
at it.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like stuck there.
Some good CG.
Yeah.
That bird theory blew my mind the first time I heard it. Have y'all heard that?
That birds aren't real?
Yes. My friend was wearing a
What is
t-shirt.
this, please?
And I was like, what? What?
Yeah,
Please
Christian.
explain.
Please explain.
Well, I can't fully explain it because I don't know too much about it, but just from what I've heard, that birds aren't real. That like they're being, I don't know, like are they controlled by
The robots.
Yeah,
the
they're
robots, right?
robots.
And like they charge from like
The power
perching
lines.
up on
The power
power lines, and I was like, who thinks this? Please, I need names. Like I need to know like who thinks this because that's absurd. But I mean, you know, I guess
Birds aren't real, then what are cats? Cats attack them birds.
Because you think about it, like it sounds like when you say stuff like who thinks of stuff like that, but then you think of like look at the cinema that we watch, look at all the movies that we watch, and a lot of the times I'm always like, who thought of this story? This is so bizarre and like so like out there, but there are people that are creative. I mean, it's just a part of the way their mind works. When I saw that whole birds aren't real thing, I just was just like, all right, now I know like there was like a split in reality, and I'm in probably in.
I know, man. As soon as people stopped saying that the world was flat, it just messed everything up.
yeah.
Oh my!
Maybe the world used to be flat in an alternate timeline.
What are you talking about?
No, so they actually, what was the name of the company that Sticks worked for? That was trying to do a birds aren't real shoot.
Oh yeah, it was for Astroworld. Sorry, we can't say that either.
Yeah, so we're at Astro when that whole thing went down. Just so you know.
Whoa!
Wait, what do you mean?
But that's for another podcast. Anyways, no, I'm just kidding.
You guys were at the Travis Scott thing?
Yeah. Bro, why are you bringing this up in public? We can't. I'm signed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Birds
that we know
are
of.
real.
Are you guys?
Yeah, we got hired by Logitech. Well, I had one of my guys hired by Logitech, and they were doing a birds aren't real like exhibit. So they just had a bird with the camera in it, and you could walk up to it and it'll record you.
Oh wow.
And it was just like a
joke.
joke they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's funny.
But that's how you knew it went to mainstream,
Yeah.
right? When a massive company like Logitech is gonna mess around with it and stuff like that.
They had a robot bird there, and you walked up to it, and you got recorded by it or something like that. It was
Speaking of the Astroworld concert, now that we're on that topic, how did you guys enjoy that show?
The Astro. Do you know what happened at Astroworld?
Yes, that's why I'm asking because I had a friend who went. And I was like, and hopefully we'll get his take on it soon. But I was like, like how did you feel? Because I'd heard things like, oh, it was very like drowning.
But the
like
demonic
sound.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard about people saying that they literally saw hell and stuff like that. I mean, it was a concert. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we were there working, and there's just so many different other variables that we were focusing on at the time that I'd love to discuss it like outside of a podcast. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I did hear about people, but man, there's a lot of people that were like tripping balls, like they were just freaking high on stuff.
Wow.
One of the first guys we did see was just like lifting his arms up and just like freaking like going crazy, and kind of attributed a lot of the stuff that happened to just people that are on drugs or something. So a lot of people there, I mean, I believe it. They probably saw all kinds of stuff because people were probably on, DMTs and all mushrooms and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wow.
There's people tripping out everywhere, and there's a lot of people that also didn't have water and stuff, so they could have been super dehydrated. And
Dude, we went to a Third Eye Blind Third Eye Blind concert
Bet that
recently.
was wild.
It was packed. It was super packed, and yeah, you would be surprised. Like I was like, who's still listening to Third Eye Blind? But it was cool. But I thought it was awesome that they decided to pass out free waters.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like respect,
Like,
Steve Jenkins.
We know. You guys get crazy here at Third Eye Blind.
It was like sold out. It was sold out, and I was just thinking like, yeah, you know, like we're in like an old school like concert because the age group, it was like Taking Back Sunday, and then it was Third Eye Blind, and I was like, yeah, the differences in like the audience. I was like, there's a bunch of dudes like late 30s, 40s, and early 50s, and then you got like the late 20s, you know, because of Taking Back Sunday. But it was a cool show. That was the coolest thing that I've ever experienced at a concert. Like that they would hand out water. Like they were like cognizant of like making sure everybody's cool. Some dude got
hot that night.
So hot. Some guy got kicked out because he tried to start like a mosh pit.
Yo, we don't do that kind of stuff here, you know?
Not at this concert.
Come on, guys, remember that time? What? Oh, I'm the bad guy? I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
Oh, it like fades away. Oh, I'm the bad guy.
No, yeah, that's I feel like, you know, we're living in a time where we have so many weird, interesting things going on. Like it's almost like you're afraid to turn on any like outlet of like media because you don't know what you're gonna get. You know, like we're at the point where like, you know, we got the flat earthers, we got the birds aren't real group, we have the simulation. Like we're in a simulation. Yeah. It's pretty wild. Can't trust the media. Like, you know, all these just different things.
You ever seen that one movie on Netflix where they discover like that there is life after death? Mm-mm. There's a movie on Netflix. Forget the name of it. It has Jason Segel in it. Oh. But it's like discover life after death. And then they realize that because life after death is they just somehow proved it, right? Mm-hmm. There's life after death. And so in that movie, people start going, oh, there's life after death? Cool. Everybody just starts offing themselves. People just start offing themselves. They don't like life. They're like, there's something after. Maybe it'll be better.
Yeah.
But then when they started getting images of it, that is just an alternate reality. It's like you just go back, but you're just in the exact same life. Maybe something slightly different. Yeah. Always are different or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I'm like looking at that, the idea that like this concept of, I came up with this concept of the movie. It's like, dude, what if every time something almost happened to you in an alternate reality, it did happen to you, you just got transferred here?
Yeah, that's cool.
Like that. What if that happened? And I was like, that's so interesting. That's all I got to. So
have you guys seen Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
Yeah, that's all.
Did you guys like that movie?
I'll tell you what. I think it's a beautiful movie, well edited, cool story. I just think it was a little long. I just think it was a little bit long. It's like, I was like, they could have cut a bit of it. Like other people were like, man, I wanted more of it. I'm like, cool to you. I just thought it was a little bit long movie. Things are dope. When she changed the channel for realities, that edit was so clean and everything. Things are awesome. And also, culturally, I was just like, I didn't agree with the daughter song. I just said, man, your mom's really nice from coming from a really, really like conservative background. She did a lot of leeway. Then I was like, you know what? I can't say that because I'm not her. So I can't I don't know what it is like to have a daughter-mom relationship. So in my mind, I'm having this whole argument. It's like, nah, man, she's wrong. Her mom was nice. And then I was like, but you don't know her like that. So you don't know. So I was like, this whole thing. Having said that, that was my take on it. So sorry.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
But anyways, you were going with it?
But I want to see it.
No, it just that whole like multi-dimensional, you know, we can have different, you know, versions of ourselves in different realities. I think we talk about it all the time, you know, Anderson and myself, and we're always like, maybe in this reality, you know, this project happened that got canceled, you know, like 2 days ago or something, you know, and like, I wonder what that'd be like. But
no, it's like this, okay? Orlando, you go to sleep tonight. How do you know that you're not waking up in a different place? How do you know that what you did right now, like it's still in the same reality? You know what I mean? Like, where do you dream?
Do I dream? Sometimes.
Okay. Do you dream?
Been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where do you think you're going when you dream?
Where do you think you're going?
Where do you think you're going? What's going on? What is your take on or interpretation of dreaming?
I think what you do affects a lot of what you dream about. I remember, you guys ever heard of SCPs? Mm-mm. SCP, I told my brother about this. SCP? It's SCP, bro. It's like a whole bunch of a list of like So it's this thing called the Secure, Contain, Protect. It's a fake government agency where people can submit stories of things they've secured, contained, and protected. So every story is like, oh, there's this coloring these pills that there's only 30 of them, but we contain it. It'll show that they contain it in this one room, in this box. No one has access to it. What it does is basically these pills. You take one, you can become anybody you want, like that. And so another thing is an IKEA store that's like never ending. Like you walk in, and all of a sudden you don't know it's shifted, but all of a sudden it's shifted. You see nobody in the store, and you realize so far we've mapped out that it's 10 kilometers squared big. So it's like thousand, the size of Houston or whatever like that. So, but it's just like a whole bunch of mythological stuff. So, anyways, I was reading that story, the IKEA one, and then when I started dreaming, I was like in the IKEA store. I was like, oh, this is crazy. I was like, oh, this is nuts, man. What's going on? Like that. So sometimes I think what you dream, especially something that your mind's super invested in, like that, you can affect what you're dreaming about.
Right.
So
Can you control your dreams?
Can I?
Yeah.
So I have had a handful of lucid dreaming experiences where they were complete, like realistic. And when I say real, the first thing I always do is I go for texture. Like that's the first thing I always do because I don't know what it is, but I always go and like start tapping on tables, knocking, and then just to test to see if it's like the same, you know, and whenever I have it, I'm talking to people in the dream, and I'm telling them like to their faces like, hey, you're not real. And they're like, what? Are you okay? You know, and I'm like, no, you're not real. You know, I feel like that scene from Inception.
Yeah.
When Leo's walking with Ellen Page and he's like telling her like, yeah, your subconscious is attacking you. And like, because, you know, they're trying to like wake you up out of your dream. So no, yeah, I have had the ability to control some of my dreams. And the problem is once you are in that state where you can control it, there's like a signal that kicks you out of it. Every time. Like, it's so hard to stay lucid long enough to, like, experience, like, the whole thing. Like, it's always, like, maybe, like, it feels like the span of, like, 5 minutes that you get to just have control of everything. Then there's a signal that sends you out. When it sends you out, it feels like you're going through a vortex and you just
wake up.
you ever just fly?
It's like your soul is just, like, getting sucked.
No, but I'm saying, like in your dream, like, you ever just, like, as soon as I lose a dream, I'll start flying. And then I try to see if I can do a Kamehameha wave. Not gonna lie. You never seen Dragon Ball?
Dragon Ball Z.
Anyways, so
I thought we were talking about, you know.
it's like it's a power beam.
Gotcha.
Yeah, man. It's layman's terms. It's a power beam you shoot out your hands. I just want to see if I can fly and do it. Like sometimes when I fly. Yeah.
How about you, Christian? Can you control your dreams?
I've only been able to do it twice, and we've talked about it before that it scares the shit out of me because I've only been able to accomplish it through like sleep paralysis. Have you guys ever had sleep paralysis before? Shit's terrifying, and I think my brain knows like I shouldn't be here. So it happened to me once where like I saw myself, you know, in my room, like in my environment, and I knew that like I was in control, and I was like, holy shit, I'm dreaming. And I went to reach for something, and I made it like come towards me. I had like a baseball bat in the corner, and I made it come towards me. And what he just described, what Anderson just described, that like your brain knows that you shouldn't be doing this, is what happened. Like my brain was like, nope, you're done. And it just took me right out of it. And I was like, no, because I was so like, you know, I wanted to like,
whoa.
Yeah, I was like, damn, this is dope.
Like, oh, she reached for a bat. She's about to get violent in this reality. Like, nah, dog.
Yeah.
No, I can control most of my dreams. Like I have that ability, to just talk to people or think of people I can talk to, or I don't know. Like that's when I do have dreams. Because most of the time I just sleep and wake up. And I think it's just because it used to be the workaholic in me. Just like I would work myself tired and then wake up and chug a bunch of coffee or whatever.
Gotcha.
But whenever like I'm like super tired, where I'll sleep like 12, 14 hours, like I'm doing stuff. Sometimes I dream that I'm working.
Oh,
Like straight up working, and I know that I'm working. And I'm just like, I wake up tired, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing, but I kind of want to finish what I'm doing. So I'm just like, right. Yeah, I mean, that's it. But for the dreams, yeah, I've had all kinds of dreams, and I do have a lot of deja vus. That's like
Oh, wow.
super important for me, where it's either that I had dreamed it before, or just like certain things in my career, I'll feel it when I have a deja vu that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm moving the right way. At least that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But I have those quite a bit in Cape Town. I was having them like all the time. So
it felt familiar.
It just felt like, like I had, that I'd been there before, done it before, or that at least the decisions that we're making were the correct ones. Like that's what it's felt like.
Do you think those deja vu moments were from maybe dreams that you may have had?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Like I really don't know. And a lot of it has to do with like, what I believe is that, you have a relationship. Our God, who I consider God, is Elohim, is the God of the Jews, and then they sent the Messiah, Christ, and through Christ you get the Holy Spirit. So then a lot of our spiritual gifts and the spiritual warfare that you do is through that Messiah and the inception of the Holy Spirit. So some people don't get that technical and that quick and explain like what that is, but the majority of like Christians, that's underarching what it's supposed to be. Some people believe that when you accept Christ, you don't receive the Holy Spirit until a certain time. As Baptists, you believe that as soon as you pray, or as soon as you actually commit to living that life, that you receive it. And with that comes spiritual gifts. One of my spiritual gifts is called discernment. And discernment is almost like prophecy or being able to see things. And I think that's where the deja vu kind of comes in. It's kind of like it's just like reaffirming certain things that are happening. And other things that discernment does, and these gifts aren't like unique to just that. I mean, they live everywhere. So psychics have it. Other people, they have those kinds of things. But talking with people, I'm just a good reader in terms of like behavioral. Like, if I see someone that just does this a little bit, like I notice it even though we're talking, and I'll turn down the AC, and just to keep the conversation. They'll never be at a point where they're like, oh, thank you, But like you just notice those little things, and you do little things, and you just keep people comfortable, and they have no idea that that's happening. It's just like kind of subliminal. But discernment, ultimately, you can you'll know people's stories and those things before they tell you, and it's all kinds of stuff that sometimes could happen. But a lot of that has to do with like being in that realm and focusing on what the Holy Spirit, like how it moves you. The ultimate goal about that is to bring other people to have that committed relationship with Christ. So, a lot of people act like Christianity, like a lot of people use it as a big target. Like I'm looking at people with big targets, and I'm going to go save you for Jesus and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people think of it that way, and then they interpret also that hell is like you try to scare people to not go to hell. And the because of like even my approach in filmmaking and all that, even the Christianity stuff is like that what we have been given is simple. So the way I take it is, no, it doesn't matter what hell is or whatever. Like that stuff doesn't matter if you have that relationship with God. So what I do is I try to just tell people like I'm only here to guide. So express what I know and what I understand and what it's been revealed through us through what we call the word text and stuff like that. And then they can, you allow people to make decisions for themselves, and then that's completely up to them. And that's why I think I do have some of those, like I said, there's certain places that I know that I'm not supposed to be in, because they'll tell you, and there is a hierarchy to some of the spiritual stuff. So in certain places you shouldn't be there because you weren't given permission. Just because you have God on your side doesn't mean that you're allowed to go just anywhere.
Really?
And that's why not crazy lady, because I'm kind of crazy the way that I'm sounding. That's why some people will explain those things. But yeah, it's kind of trippy.
That's beautiful, man. That's really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that term, discernment.
Yeah, discernment. Yeah, you can look it up. Discernment. A lot of people. It's not just to the Christian world at all either. So.
Yeah. Because
what that kind of reminds me of is like. When we talk about like intuition, like you have these gut feelings where you're like, okay, I don't know, like something doesn't feel right, or sometimes we look at it like I guess we look at it depending on like your interpretation or your perception of like how you view like your world. So like you and I could have the same experience, but you might be a negative person, so you or in a more pessimistic mindset. So how you interpret something could be completely different from me. Like you might just be like almost like victim mentality. Like, man, I got dealt these stupid cards. That guy made me late. Like, you know. But then I could see it like, man, that guy that was cut me off ended up getting in an accident that I was supposed to go through, and I could have gotten in a car accident. You know, and maybe that happened for But it's just like it's like perception. It's like how you
the perspective.
Perspective thing. In terms of like synchronicities, we do kind of talk about that a lot because it sounds very similar, Orlando, to how you're talking about like when you start to like get these gifts and like it just keeps like happening and you're like, what's going on? Synchronicities such as like it could be simple things like we see numbers or patterns. Maybe it's like an innate thing that we all have as humans to see patterns, whether they're just like ones or zeros, or some people claim that, they see 1111 all the time. I mean, our show's called 111. And the reason why it's called 111 is it's crazy as it sounds. I got led to this studio for a reason, and this show kind of transpired from, all of that, like, that pattern, that gut feeling, and, here we are. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
So I really do, I do believe in that, like, wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
That's really cool. So, but yeah, I think we had a lot of interesting,
all kinds of crazy stuff.
I mean, some of the things uncanny stuff. Yeah, like we like to ride this wave of weird. You know how you said you used the term we're in the upside down.
Yeah, the upside down.
So for me, I got it from a dream, by the way.
Yeah.
And I got this explained to me in a dream where one of our mottos for the show is living through the ween. Right? So I dreamt that I went to this gym. It was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym. I don't do that, by the way. But I saw a friend that was working there, and he was, like, cleaning up the mats. And I just randomly asked him, like, what's going on with the world, man? Like, just casually, like, what's going on with the world, man? And he's like, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but, the thing I do know is we're living through the ween. He's like, times, like, he basically was, like, explaining how our reality is basically split with another reality in the same, like, at the same time. So it's almost like everything that we're experiencing that we're like, that would never happen, is happening, because basically what it means is we're living through, like, the in-between. So, like, both of these worlds are, like, happening at the same time. Two different realities are happening at the same time. Some things are slightly off. Some things are like how we remember them.
We're just a hot dog in between two buns.
That should be the motto.
How is a hot dog between two buns? It's the same bun.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
It sounded cool.
It sounds good.
That's how you keep it. How is a headless man going to be hanging from a tree?
Yeah.
It sounds like one of your
dad
jokes.
Maybe like when we're talking about perspective, it reminded me of this thing I wrote with the homie. I wrote a scene out. And okay, I'm going to put it into something anyways. But it's like some guy's mad that he's in traffic. He's like, he opens his window. He's like, man, why am I stuck in all this traffic? And the other guy goes, man, you're not stuck in traffic. You are traffic. He's like, why are you screaming at me? I could have a gun. He's like, yeah, well, I could have a gun. And they both look at each other and just roll up their windows. Like, dang, perspective. He goes, look, we're both right.
That's fun.
Yeah, that reminds me of that one client who was like, damn, that's a lot of money. Can I give you half of it? And I was like, yeah. He goes, but when do I pay you the rest? I'm like, well, actually, I need the full amount. He's like, man, what if you get hit by a bus? And I was like, what? What do you mean? What if I said, what if you get hit by a bus? And he goes, oh, damn, I never thought of that.
Wow.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I mean, the thing is to to look at the perspective of the world and how crazy or how uncanny and the different things that are happening, right? But then you also look at your perspective, and when you dial out and see how minuscule you are and what you are, like the little molecule within a big, massive, expansive, creation, then you're just like, what am I worth? And some people don't know, what to say about that. And one thing that I explain to people, there's all this talk about like, what know your worth, know your worth, know your worth. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what? Once you understand what worth is, and it doesn't matter, whether if it's worth or worthless. If you're worthy, or if you're a certain person, then there's no worth that could be attached. You just are, know. And that's the one thing that I really hope to, at least even with our within the film stuff and all that, and even this is like, I love to put across that like who you are and what you are and the things that you experience are super unique to you, and that you're special, and that don't let those things take you away from living, just following that. So
That's really that's good. No, I like that. That's really a unique way of seeing things. But guys, I really appreciate y'all both coming on the show.
Definitely.
No, I appreciate you, Anderson.
appreciate you.
Shut up, back freckle.
I appreciate you.
You guys want to give our listeners kind of where they can find your your Instagram or anything?
Yeah. So check out the last episode we're in, and just go to the end and you'll see.
Yeah. Now you can go to Instagram at This Is Filmatic, at Cristian Federico Briones, and then you can go to our YouTube Filmatic 1, and then you'll see some of the dumb stuff and things that we love to do. But yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you guys for letting us be here.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
So
tonight.
last thing,
Yes.
if you guys ever get a chance to go see this play, and I'll just leave it with this. There's a play that came out in London that was the most amazing paranormal play I've ever seen. It's called Ghost Stories. That's the last thing I'll tell you. Just look that up. It is amazing.
Is it?
Huh?
Is it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
What,
amazing.
but
Thank
that's
you.
so generic. What am I typing into Google here? Because I feel like it's going to give me like 1,000
Stories
different.
play.
Ghost Stories
in
play.
London.
London. Okay. All right.
Just look it up.
London.
Christian, do you want to go ahead and close us out?
Yeah, you can find us at enter, ENTER, the number 1, and then 11, ELEVEN. Follow us wherever you find us.
All right. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you
Thanks
to
for
all
being
of
on
our
the show, guys.
listeners.
Appreciate it.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.